how can you just become more transparent with the things you love? The most successful people, they're not trying to be someone else. I pulled bits and pieces from my mentors. I learned this from this person. I learned this from this. I learned this. But I used all that as raw material to craft my own identity. Hindsight was 20/20. Some people say they have no regrets. That's not my regret. How can you become more authentic? How can you just be more shameless in the things that you want? Hey, welcome to another episode of the Bill Hauser podcast. And today is a good day because it's another day of being alive. That's amazing. We had a awesome week this week. We flew in some members of our sales team, and man, it gets me juiced. I feel like if in another life, if I was just to run a, cold calling operation, I feel like I'd be like the best drill sergeant, cold calling operation leader. What do they call that again? That's a what's the thing called where it's like a something boiler room. That's it. Boiler room. Is that a movie or is that like an actual topic? I don't know. It's a movie, I know that, but is that like an actual thing? Like, is a boiler room an actual thing? Yeah. It was really fun. We had a lot of our new outbound sales team here. We do these mini retreats at our company where we have a certain department of our company fly to our office for like a week, and we go through a ton of training. Previous to that, we've had our paid advertising team come here to talk about ways we can improve and innovate on paid advertising for clients. We had our website and SEO team come here. We're doing every single department of our company. So it's been really fun having the ability to really focus in on one department at a time. Previously, we did like a big retreat where all of our team members, went to one, place, and it's for, now that we have 150 people, it's just really hard to connect with everyone, when there's 150 people. So it's just better and more productive to break it up and do it in small pieces. And one of the funny things was we hired this new sales manager slash, director. His name is Steve, and it was his third day, okay? It's actually on his second day, and we do these things called morning huddles at our company, okay? And the morning huddle is 7 minutes long, and we do it every single morning from 8:55, or is it 8:58? 8:58 until 9:05 a.m. So 7 minutes long. So we have a 7-minute agenda for this. And poor Steve, poor Steve was actually sitting right where that chair is. If you're watching the video version of this, where that orange pillow is, he was sitting on that chair right behind me. And we had our morning huddle playing on this big TV that's in the area that I'm in. And so he was, and one of our team members, Brett, who runs our morning huddles a lot, comes in a pink, what was it, a Ric Flair outfit? Yeah. So comes in a pink, it basically looked like a dress, right? And so Brett comes in like this pink Ric Flair outfit and does our entire 7-minute morning huddle, running through every department update. Woo! And next we're going to go to this team. Woo! And I just see Steve's entire understanding of reality get shattered. I mean, he's in the back corner right behind me, and he's looking up, and he's like, what company did I just sign up for, right? He came from a company called Brady before this, which is like this super professional SaaS tech company ran by engineers. And it's always so funny to me to see when people first experience our company's culture, because it's, we do the best we can up front to explain our culture and to be transparent about it with our vivid vision and how we treat people throughout the interview process and show authenticity throughout the interview process and really try to make it as casual and human of a process as possible. But once people experience that when they become a part of the team, we've had people just immediately say, yep, this isn't for me. It's rare because we've done a really good job of pushing those people away before they accept a job here and vetting that out. But it still happens every now and then. We had this amazingly talented person literally experience like their first like morning huddle with us and our culture, and literally the person quit within one day and said this culture is way too positive for me. I was like, what? Like, okay, yeah, please quit, because what other kind of culture do you want? Do you want a negative culture? Like, it just is really fascinating to me. And I think like the thing that I really can hang my hat on is that what we portray ourselves as is exactly who we are, right? Like, one thing we've been talking about this week a little bit, we got dinner last night with some of the people who were here at this retreat, is the authenticity of someone like Dave Portnoy, right? So Dave Portnoy runs, I think it's Barstool Sports or whatever, and sold it for $100 million, bought it back for $1 or whatever. That's crazy. That's like the deal of a lifetime. But then he does all the pizza reviews, right? And you just see all the stuff he does on social media, and he just clearly doesn't care. Like, he's just gonna be himself. And I kind of relate this to Nick Sirianni as a coach. There's a clip of Saquon Barkley before he, the interview was after he joined the Eagles, and he was talking about before he knew Nick Sirianni, he hated him. He was like, who the hell is this doofus? Why the hell is he yelling at fans? And, there was this one clip of Sirianni, the coach of the Eagles, running up to literally the NFL's main camera that was on him and like sticking his tongue out and like jolting his head back and forth. Like, he was basically like, saying to the camera, we're winning, da 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 da, right? Like, very childish stuff, right? So Saquon was like, yeah, I didn't like that guy at all until I met him, right? And then when he became a member of the team, he was like shocked with how well Sirianni's method worked, right? And it was a really... Why the hell is my phone lighting up like that? I think Big Brother's like tracking me. Who is Big Brother, by the way? Nobody knows. Is it Big Sister? I don't know. We'll never know. Is it now just Big AI? But the thing that Saquon loves about Sirianni is that he's always himself, right? Who he is doesn't change. I wish I could show you what's happening on my phone. It keeps lighting up as I'm talking. It's really creepy. And why is that so important? Like, transparency in company culture, transparency in who you are as a person, transparency in every area of life is what I found is the number one stress reducer. You can literally when you can just be yourself and be honest about the things you like doing and the things you don't like doing and who you want to be and how you want to be. I mean, like, there's no better drug to release stress than being transparent, because you've got nothing to hide, right? I mean, I lived most of my life, I'll say about, I'm 33 now, so what? I don't know. Probably 75% of my life I lived in a state of non-transparency. And, when I found out that I was interested in personal development in school, I would, secretly listen to Brian Tracy high impact communication tapes every day to and from school. I thought it was because I had a problem. When I would listen to Tony Robbins videos, Brendan Burchard videos, stuff like that, I thought, I can't be public about this. I must have a problem. Why do I need to listen to self-help stuff? I must need help. Therefore, I must be deficient, right? And one day with stuff like that, I just literally said, fuck it. I don't care. I'm interested in personal development. I'm interested in self-help. I like this. It jives well with my brain. I like learning this stuff, right? And that was one little check. If you look at a list of all of your natural passions and loves in life, you want to be able to put a check next to each one on the list. You want to be able to say, okay, I love this, check, I'm being transparent about that. Number 2, I love this, check, I'm being transparent about that. Number 3, I love this, check, I'm being transparent about that. This is like real stuff, man. I hid this from everyone. My anxiety, which actually became a passion of mine when I overcame my anxiety. I learned so much about mindfulness and meditation, but because I'm a dude, I wanted to not tell people that I had anxiety problems, right? I had to be tough and show no weakness, right? And that was, all that did is cause me pain because I wasn't being transparent. I wasn't being honest about what I'd gone through and what I'd learned to overcome it, which was mindfulness, meditation, diversion. Same thing with like my love for sales. Like there was a point in time where I was very hush about that because I didn't know, a lot of people criticize sales. If I were to tell someone, hey, I quit being an insurance underwriter at a Fortune 100 insurance company, which I did, and I quit that to become a yellowpage.com sales rep, what do you think most people would say? Oh man, maybe Bill didn't make the right decision, right? He went into sales when he had a predictable job, Fortune 100 insurance company underwriter. And then I just didn't care, right? This is like that, kind of that baller mentality where it's like, dude, I'm going to do what I love. I'm going to be transparent about it and get away if you don't like it, just get far away. If you don't like our company's culture, get away, right? If you don't like, blah, 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 I don't need to prove anything to you, right? A big chapter for me in this also was dirt bike racing. Something I gave up as, I sold my love for extreme sports in order to be successful, right? I want to be successful. So therefore, I can't, do all these things that are fun to me anymore, right? Because I need to be successful. I sold my ability to be good at extreme sports and my love for extreme sports because I wanted to be successful, right? So that wasn't transparent. I wasn't being open with myself and with my needs and the things I actually wanted to do. Now, dude, I just want to it's so funny. There's this guy, there's this dirt bike trainer. I think his name's Jacob Panisi or something. And he works at MTF, which is this training facility. And I watched some of his videos on YouTube, and he does basically a lot of personal training stuff for specifically motocross, dirt bike racing, which is something I love. And he always starts his videos, and his tagline is I just want to get jacked and ride dirt bikes. That's his opening line for that's literally his tagline. And it's just so transparent. I just want to get jacked and ride dirt bikes, That's his entire business tagline for his personal training company. And I listen to that, I'm just wow, the transparency. Oh my God, it's just so beautiful when you find someone who's being very transparent with what they want, what they love. For me, if I were to create a statement similar to that, I just want to crush goals in business, bring everyone along with me, and ride dirt bikes. It's just and be super healthy in the process, mentally, physically. But it's how can you just become more transparent with the things you love, right? And I have thoughts all the time. This is why sometimes I have to stop myself from reading books because I just read the book from the co-founder of Home Depot. I forget what it's called. It's actually in my audiobooks. Let me see real quick. I might have talked about this before. So the book is, I don't think it's built from, I Love Capitalism, it's called, by Ken Langone. So Ken Langone, co-founder of Home Depot, he, like, you go through his story and you realize this dude came from absolutely nothing, broke family, New York, scrapped his way to the top just through grit and determination. And then it gets to like a point halfway through the book where he gains all of these connections with like crazy leaders and, you know, all these extremely important, successful people. And I get halfway through the book and I'm like, shit, I don't know if I could ever do that. I don't know if I could ever be friends with like presidents and like, all these super important people because to me, a lot of their lives are boring. Like a lot of the people, who have built their entire life around status are basically like, they're not doing the things I label as fun. Like I don't find playing golf fun. I don't find, you know, doing boring, low stress, low risk activities fun. Like my definition of fun is jumping 150-foot jumps, going, 100 miles an hour, you know? It's just I'm an extreme sports guy, right? So I don't need to pretend and, sell my passions in order to be successful. I can be successful and there's trade-offs to that. And I can love the things that I love, right? I'm not going to change my entire brain wiring, right? It is what it is. So I just think like so many people are not being transparent with themselves because we're just in such a information revolution right now. We have so much access to information with people who are doing more than us, more successful than us, and if we make a mistake of learning at the expense of our own beliefs and our own passions, then what's the point in learning, right? If we're going to learn how other people succeeded and then we're going to use that learning to then say, well, this person wasn't interested in X, and I guess I'm going to have to give up X in order to be like this person. Or, you don't want to compare yourself to other people. I mean, we hear this, 101 times. I want to be the best I can be. I don't want to be the next anyone, right? Like when people say, "Oh, is this person going to be the next Michael Jordan? Is this person going to be the next blah blah blah?" Right? I don't want to be the next anything. I just want to be the best I can be, right? If you've ever looked at or watched the Tom Brady interview with Patrick Bet-David, he was speaking at one of his events. It's on YouTube. It's like, I believe, the best interview ever recorded. And it will be and is the best interview ever recorded with Tom Brady for the rest of eternity. It was one of the first interviews he gave after he retired. And what I think is he was really unleashed in this interview, because what Patrick Bet-David was trying to pull out was his competitive drive, because he always seems like so charming and stuff, like he didn't have that drive. He just wants the team to win. But no, he definitely had a chip on his shoulder, and Patrick Bet-David pulls it out in this interview. But more importantly, he never said he was chasing rings, right? Now, there's some truth to that. I'm sure that was a very important focus of his. But what he said with passion and sincerity was what he was chasing was to be the best him this year. Every year, right? He just wanted to be the best version of himself, right? To give his absolute best, because that's all that's within his control in the game of football, right? And that caused him to get better at leadership, better at training, better at routes, better at preparation, right? So when you look at like the most successful people, they're not trying to be someone else. Oftentimes you'll see successful people say, I pulled bits and pieces from my mentors. I learned this from this person. I learned this from this. I learned this. But I used all that as raw material to craft my own identity. So I'm not trying to be anyone else, right? When I was in music back in the days, I was trying to be someone else, right? There was this band and I was, in my mid-teens at the time, right? So you're talking like 16 through, 19 was like one of my first bands. Like, I didn't have a full identity formed at that time, so it's understandable, but my main focus was I wanted to be the next X band, right? Like, I had like two or three bands that I really admired at that time, and I didn't have a clear identity or vision of what I wanted to be, right? So therefore I wanted to be someone else. And I kind of became that someone else. My voice started sounding like these people, my performances started sounding like these people, and then I had to stop the band eventually because I was living someone else's life. It wasn't my own script, right? It was a script that somebody else, because they were successful, I adopted. And this is the risk again of mentorship and learning from others, which is the best way to learn, is learning from others, mentorship, reading books, right? But how do you take that information and turn it into your authentic picture of what you want, right? And as I've become more successful in business, I've become less insecure, and it's because I'm insecure. I'll just say it point blank, right? When I started SMB team for the first 4 years, I was wildly insecure. Insecure that the business wasn't going to last, insecure that I was just a fraud and this is all just temporary success. So insecure so that, like, when I introduced my company to every person I talked to, I would overstate the size of it constantly, overstate how big our team was, overstate how many clients we had. And it was me talking myself out of my insecurity. So when I told someone else that my business was bigger than it actually was, like, oh, we've got a team of blah, we've got a team of 15 people, when really I had one employee and 14 freelancers, and 80% of those freelancers weren't busy all the time, right? That was the truth, okay? But instead I just said, oh, we got 15 people, right? And me saying that was insecurity. That was me talking myself out of my own insecurity. I didn't have the courage to look at someone and say, hey, I got one employee and a couple freelance helpers. I didn't have the courage to say that, so therefore I had to overstate it, right? And this trend of overstating things became painful for me, right? Because then, I had to always know in the back of my head that if I didn't get there, then I was basically lying to myself. Now, thankfully, I did get way beyond all of these things I stated, right? And that's awesome. But it's unfortunate, and it's a reality now that the company is at the size that it's at. I'm not insecure anymore because so much of my self-worth was wrapped up in the success of this business and making sure that I wasn't just a fraud and some imposter, driving this whole business forward. And it just is what it is. I, come from a family that went bankrupt. We didn't have a successful business. We lost everything. So understandably that I'm insecure. If my only reference point was that, then I was insecure, right? Now I wish, if hindsight was 20/20, some people say they have no regrets. That's something I regret. I regret that I had to overstate everything for so long. I wish I could have just said it like it is. And you know what would have happened? I would have made the same amount of progress, right? And I would have made it in a much more peaceful state, right? So I think in every chapter of our life, if our words don't align with our actions over a certain set period of time, you're going to get burned out. It causes mental turmoil when your words don't align with your actions, your words don't align with your reality. And then simultaneously, when your thoughts don't align with your actions or your reality, right? When your desires don't align with your actions or your reality, right? Over time, it's just going to cause mental burnout, mental anguish, negative emotions, right? It's called cognitive dissonance, right? Where you have conflicting thoughts at any given point in time, right? If I say I want to go to the gym every single day for 2 months and I don't go at all, that creates cognitive dissonance. Why? Because my thought, my picture, my desire is I want to go to the gym. My reality is I haven't gone for 2 months, right? That creates stress. That creates more stress than going to the gym every day for 2 months, right? I am less stressed doing this podcast now than I was before I started the podcast. Why? Because on my freaking to-do list for like 18 months, I said, start a podcast, start a podcast, start a new podcast, start a new podcast, start a podcast, start a podcast, start a podcast. And after like 18 months, I look at my to-do list, I run into the freaking room, I say, we're starting a goddamn podcast. I'm sick and tired of waiting. I can't put up with this stress anymore of not doing what I say I want to do, right? And that's how this podcast started, just from a emotion of get the hell off your ass and go do something about it, right? And this is why anytime I start seeing something on my to-do list for a sustained period of time that I'm not taking action on, whether that to-do list is in my head, a recurring thought, whether that to-do list is on paper, it's a sign that I'm not being authentic to my desires. I'm not doing what I actually desire. And sometimes what you do is hard. Like if I want to get in the best shape of my life, yeah, sometimes it's hard to go to the gym, right? Like I'll give you an example. So I broke my hand. If you watch prior episodes, you know that. So I broke my hand, and my hand's now fully healed. So I had to take 3 months off of riding dirt bikes. Really, it was like 2.75 months. And it worked out good because it's winter here in Philadelphia. There's no way I could have rode for those 3 months anyway. So it was really good timing. And lo and behold, my first ride back on my dirt bike was last weekend. And holy crap, I have never been more sore in my entire life. For the next 2 days after this, if you ever heard of DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, when you ride dirt bikes, your average heart, for me, my average heart rate at the rate that I go is like 170 beats a minute. Some of my sessions are 170 to 180 beats a minute. For my age, that is zone 5 cardio. That's red line cardio, right? That is as high of my max heart rate as you can basically sustain for 15 to 20 minutes a session, which is how long I ride on average. I did that 8 or 9 times on my first ride back, okay? Now, mind you, I have been doing high-intensity interval training. I never miss days in the gym. I've been doing intense cardio. I do hour-plus long zone 3 cardio, if you know what I'm talking about. That is hard. That's 135 beats a minute average for an hour straight, multiple times a week. I do intense, high-intensity interval training, specific muscle groups targeted for riding, which is upper shoulder, like the row muscles, lower back, legs, core. And still, the 2 days after this last Saturday when I rode, I was in life or death pain in every single muscle group. I've never felt this much pain and soreness ever, okay? So for me, that was my first time back on the bike, okay? The first time doing anything is going to be the most painful. If you haven't been in the gym for 2 months and you go, you're going to be in more pain, okay, in the beginning. If you do that for a couple more months, you're going to be in less pain when you go to the gym, right? And if you keep doing that for a year, you're not going to really be that sore, when you continually go to the gym. Your soreness is not going to be a thing. And in fact, your relationship to the gym is going to change. You're going to become addicted to the endorphins. You're going to become addicted to the positive things that come from you working out, so much so that it becomes harder for you to miss workouts than it is for you to work out. And that's the current state that I'm in my own, fitness journey and all that. But it didn't start there, right? It always starts with pain. Anytime you do something first, or when you've been MIA for that thing for a while, it's going to be more painful in the beginning, right? And, but that is how you travel the path to authenticity. Is it's going to be hard to do the things you should have been doing that you haven't been doing. It's going to be harder to do that the first time. The things you've been thinking that you haven't communicated to others, that you've been not transparent about, it's going to be a little harder to communicate that the first time than it is the 10th time, the 20th time. It's called progressive desensitization, right? This is a psychological reaction, right? So whenever we have an emotional reaction to an action that we take, right? Every action is an equal and opposite reaction, right? You are going to become progressively desensitized to the reaction, right? So if I public speak once and my heart rate goes up to 130 beats a minute when I public speak, okay? That sounds like this. Right? So my heart rate goes up when I public speak. Then the next time I public speak, my heart rate's going to be at 125. The next time I public speak, it'll be at 120. The 10th time I public speak, I'm hoping I'm only at 85 beats a minute. I'm hoping I'm more calm. See, the stimulus, me speaking, the stimulus doesn't change, but my reaction to the stimulus changes. That's progressive desensitization, right? First time you public speak is going to be more scary than the 10th time, right? First time you play in a Super Bowl, if you're a pro athlete, is going to be scarier than the second time you play in a Super Bowl as a pro athlete. And what this results in is your heart rate's lower. When your heart rate's lower, you're more calm. And when you're stressed, your heart rate is typically going to be a little bit higher. When your heart rate is higher, people become their non-best selves, right? When your heart rate is higher, like the real you comes out. One thing all my coaches tell me when I ride dirt bikes. Now this applies to tennis, a lot of high cardio sports. When you're red zoning, when you're doing crazy cardio, right? You go into a trance. There is no thinking when you're in zone 5 or when you are performing, right? If you're in the middle of a Broadway performance, if you're in the middle of a trial and you're presenting at that exact second, you go into flow state, right? And that's where your habits present themselves. Your habits expose themselves when you're in high pressure situations. The real you comes out. The real you is, in situations like that, really just whatever your routines and habits have created, right? And if you have bad routines, bad habits, and you get stressed, you're going to probably do bad things, right? Or you're going to freak out, or you're going to say things that aren't right? Freeze up, etc. If you have prepared and you do have healthy routines and you go under pressure situations, you'll thrive because you've already been there before. You've already prepared 1,000 times. So bring on the pressure, right? This is why if you look at successful people, whether that's athletes, entrepreneurs, you're going to realize almost every successful person you'll ever talk to will tell you they get more calm in pressure situations. So if more pressure gets presented to someone who's an expert in something, they're going to actually feel more calm than when there isn't pressure. This is why you get people who say, I can never take time off. I don't know what to do if I do nothing. I freak out. That's because high performers, they love to be wound up. They don't like to unwind because unwinding, having nothing to do, is more stressful to them than being wound up, right? And that's just because you've trained yourself to be calm in high pressure situations, right? So you start thriving in high pressure situations, right? You want high pressure situations all the time because that's where you feel bliss. And in the absence of high pressure situations, you kind of lose your umph for life. Things become boring. That's where every day feels like the last, and you just kind of start going through the motions, right? And that's the majority of the population, and that's fine. That's why there's, way more people than there are businesses, right? Is because that's what most people need. Most people need predictability, certainty in order to feel authentic and themselves. And for the 1% of 1% of people who who want to do big things and be a high performer, you're going to have to change your relationship to fear. And this is probably the number one indicator of a high performer is what is your relationship to fear, right? If my relationship to fear is when I feel fear, I get away from it, right? I want to avoid fear, right? A, you're going to be less healthy. B, you're going to live shorter. And C, you're going to accomplish less. If you run from fear, your life is going to be worse. Here's why. Fear is a form of stress. There's two types of stress. There's eustress and distress, okay? Not all stress is created equal, okay? Eustress is positive-oriented stress. Distress is negative-oriented stress, right? Distress is boo-hoo, woe is me, this is so stressful, I have so much going on, this is so hard, right? Eustress is I just bought a company and I need to figure out how to integrate it with this company. Still stress, just more productive-oriented stress. I just signed up, this is what I went through when I, started SMB is like, I just signed up 10 clients this week. How the hell do I deliver for all these clients, right? That's a great feeling. That's stress. So choose your stress, okay? If you look at the life expectancy of presidents and people in high-pressure roles, everyone says, oh, stress kills you. False. People who are in high-responsibilities roles live longer, okay? If you look at non-assassinated presidents, they lived an average of 15 to 20 years longer than the sample size of people who they were leading during that same time period. Why? Because they had more responsibility, okay? They were put under more pressure, but it was eustress. It was not distress, okay? You want more stress. You want more pressure. Pressure sharpens every object, okay? Pressure sharpens everything. No pressure, no progress. The day you stop feeling pressure is the day you start getting ready for the grave. The day nobody needs you, the day nobody respects you, the day nobody needs to hear from you, no pressure, no stress, that's when your body starts getting ready for the grave. Right? So you want pressure. You want to be put in challenging situations. That's if you want to live longer. That's if you want to have a greater impact. If you want to die sooner, then have no pressure, have no stress. What happens when you don't work out a muscle for a month? Right? It atrophies. What happens when you don't work out your brain for a year? Right? It atrophies. What happens when you don't apply psychological stress to yourself? You atrophy. Right? Just like a muscle, just like the mind, just like anything else. If you don't use it, you lose it. So I want more pressure. I want more eustress. I want more positive goal-oriented stress. I want to be put in high responsibility situations. Right? I want to be a part of a mission. This is why a lot of people, when they leave the Army or the Navy, they come back home, they go through massive depression and anxiety. It's not because they're some depressed and anxious person. They weren't that way when they were fighting for us. They were, serving our country. Why all of a sudden does all this anxiety appear? All these negative emotions appear? Because they got nothing to apply it to. Because the thing that we're applying it to is now gone. So it doesn't mean you're the problem. It means that your environment changed. You don't have as much pressure. You don't have a clear mission, right? You're not able to put all that energy in one place. I mean, wow, this is like such a misnomer. This is such a misunderstanding in society. You don't want a stress-free life. You want stress in your life. You need to put yourself in situations where you are demanded of excellence. Right? And I'm telling you, you're going to live longer if you do this. Longevity studies show this. You're going to feel better. You're going to live longer. And hey, if you die, fuck it. You die. At least you died living a great life, being needed, right? I'd rather die that way than die nobody needing me and living a stress-free life, right? I'd rather die on the battlefield trying to accomplish something rather than just die because this is why, like, I think the 4-hour work week really had so much great information in it, but it was like a book that blew up in the entrepreneur community. Certainly had a big impact on my life, but I think it just got taken out of hand. And this is why, like, I can't hang around entrepreneurs that are in it for themselves. I just can't. I'm sorry. I'll say it right now. If you're in it for yourself, I can't hang out with you. And that's the majority of entrepreneurs. Like, it's so funny. The whole high-ticket coaching industry. What a joke, okay? It is so sad to me. I mean, it really is. Like, you look at these kids who they learned, basically this is the skill they learned. They learned how to sell a $10,000 coaching program with no deliverables, nothing. They get all this profit. They deliver it virtually, okay? Every single client of theirs cancels. They don't really deliver much value. And yet you look at their Instagram and all they're doing is on beaches, renting Ferraris and showing off their watches and stuff. Get away from me. I can't hang out with people like that. It's not my thing. I am a grinder. I'm going to give my best effort in anything that I do. I'm going to measure myself on an impact perspective. Get away from me. Those are not the type of that entrepreneur category is a fast-growing category of entrepreneur. And I hope that regulation is put in place to discipline people like that who aren't in business for the right reasons and are basically learned a skill of getting people to spend money on something and delivering nothing for it. That's basically being a thief, right? It's a strategic way of being a thief. So I just want to be authentic. I want the takeaway today to just be, how can you become more authentic? How can you just be more shameless in the things that you want, in what in what you love, and stop trying to be someone else. Like, literally, as a result of this podcast, can you go up to someone you love and can you be more transparent with them about something you want? Can you tell them something that you want? Can you tell them something that's important to you? If you run a company, can you be more transparent with your team as to the things you want and you love? Can you live a fully transparent life? Can you have your personal, professional, your business, all of your interests aligned? And most importantly, can you keep commitments to yourself? Like, can you be transparent in your commitments and your actions to yourself? If you say you're going to get in the best shape of your life and you're not going to the gym, call that shit out right now. Change it, right? Because if you want to get in the best shape of your life and you don't go to the gym at all, then you don't want to get in the best shape of your life, right? Or you better start going to the gym if it's important to you, right? You really have two choices. Abandon your desires, which is never a good choice, or suck it up and do the work. Suck it up and do the thing that's transparent to what your goals are. All right, I'll see you in the next episode. Peace. If you found value in this podcast, here's one way I can help your firm right now. First, you can get our new book, Law Firm Growth Accelerator. It's everything we've learned over 10 plus years helping lawyers build thriving, profitable firms. The strategies that you'll get in this book work for any practice area and any revenue level. You can get the audiobook and ebook 100% free, or just cover the shipping and we'll send you the physical copy to you in addition to the audio and ebook. Go to smbteam.com/book to get your copy.